Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
And I'm Erin Palmer, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
Joining us is Ankit Jain. Welcome.
Hey, great to be here, y'all.
Thank you so much for joining us. Before we talk about your 2024 primary election campaign for DC Shadow Senator, please tell our viewers a little bit about your background and who you are.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. My name's Ankit Jain. I'm a Ward 2 resident. I live in the Mount Vernon Triangle, Logan Circle area, right kind of in between those neighborhoods. I'm a voting rights attorney, currently supporting Fair Vote, the main ranked choice voting advocacy group in the country. Before that, I worked for 4 years at the Sierra Club, an environmental organization. So as you can tell, democracy and or environmentalism are two things I'm passionate about. I'd say a third thing I'm very passionate about is gun violence prevention. When I was in law school, I was one of the organizers of the New York City March for Our Lives for stronger gun laws. And now I'm running, like we are about to talk about, for Shadow Senator. Launched my campaign in late September of last year. And just a little bit, more personal stuff. I'm a huge basketball and tennis fan. I try to play basketball every week. Harrison Playground, great court. Although I guess I kind of ruined the secret now. It's all out there. Um, was able to see Coco Gauff win her first major big title at the City Open. And been a big DC sports fan for a long time, was very disappointed, of course, to hear the news about the Wizards and Capitals.
Certainly. Well, it's such a pleasure to have you here with us, Ankit. Thanks so much for joining us. And before we talk about your 2024 primary election campaign, let's get into what a DC Shadow Senator is and why you are motivated to run this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is the number one question that I get. The Shadow Senator is our main advocate for DC statehood against Congress overturning our local laws, and it's basically DC's elected lobbyist before the U.S. Senate. So this is a position that, in coordination with the broader statehood community, organizes the campaigns, leads the messaging and strategy, and takes the meetings with senators and their staff to get what we want out of Congress. I think it's an important position because I have been involved in politics for several years, and I've seen the impact that running a good campaign makes in getting what you want out of Congress versus running a bad campaign. And this is really the position that helps organize those campaigns. And so why am I, interested in taking on this position? Well, I really do believe in democracy. I believe that, we have the right to control our own destiny. My day job is in democracy promotion. So it's something that I'm passionate about. I've been involved in the statehood movement for several years now. And it's not something I take for granted. My parents came to the U.S. from India, and they actually had to sleep in line overnight outside the immigration office to get their green card and get on the pathway to vote. People thought they were homeless, and they had to tell them, no, we have homes, we have food, we just want to be American citizens. And so they really had to sacrifice and to become citizens, gain the right to vote. And so it's something I don't take for granted, and it's something that we don't have the full rights here in DC. And I want to bring, my legislative advocacy experience to this position. Want to bring that perspective. I'd be the first Indian American elected official above the ANC level in DC history. And I thought I could do the job well, so I decided to throw my hat in the ring.
Ankit, you've mentioned some issues that are important to you and that you think are relevant to the role of DC Shadow Senator. Can you tell us more about your top 3 issues and how you will advocate for them?
Yeah. So I think statehood, this position is really focused on statehood. So that is a through line through everything I would want to do. So many of the problems we face in our city are due to the lack of statehood and the inability to do what we need to do to get problems under control. But I'll talk about 3 specific issues that I think statehood threads through all of them. So number one is public safety and gun violence prevention. We actually have a huge crime crisis in our city, and I think lack of statehood plays a large role in that because we have a weird federal local hybrid criminal justice system where our prosecutor for most crimes is federal, our police department is local. They don't work well with each other, and you had the prosecutor only prosecute 33% of all people arrested by the police department in 2022. And so there's some sort of disconnect there. And I think statehood would do a large part in addressing that problem. In addition to that, Congress, they like to attack DC for our high crime. I would say to them that they have this power to address this issue. They could pass a federal gun law and help address all of these illegal guns flooding into our city. And really, that's something I would want to push Congress to do. And then finally, we can't address public safety without addressing the conditions that are causing crime, the poverty and hopelessness in many communities. And we need to get federal funding towards things like job training and education and mental health and violence interrupters to address some of these root causes of crime. So that would be number one. I would say a second thing that I'm really focused on is housing and the cost of living in the city. Rent costs are out of control in DC. The federal government I would say, is not helping in this effort. We have something called the Height Act, which is a federal law that restricts how tall buildings can be. I don't think the federal government should be telling us how tall our buildings should be. I don't think some senator from Massachusetts or Oklahoma should be telling us what our building height should be. I think that should be the DC Council's job. And so I would be working to get rid of or significantly modifying the Federal Height Act so we can build more housing, especially affordable housing in our city. And then the last thing I'll mention is Metro. So I don't own a car. I'm relying on Metro. I appreciate Erin's poster in her background. And so it's something I experience every day. We have a huge a huge fiscal cliff that Metro is facing. I think the federal government benefits from Metro. Federal workers take Metro to work every day. I think the federal government should be stepping in to help us address this fiscal cliff we're facing with Metro. And then we thinking long term, there's a proposal to expand Metro to build new line. The most popular proposal would go to Georgetown through Southeast DC to National Harbor to several other points in between. The biggest problem with that is it's expensive. If we can get some federal funding, $1 to $2 billion to help build that station, that line, that would really do a long way towards building this transformational investment in our city. So I'd be fighting for federal funding for that line as well.
Awesome, Ankit. It's so great to hear those plans and those policies and those issues that are, really important to you. So thanks for sharing those.
Mhm.
Now, when the voters look at, who is running for shadow senator, why are you the best choice for our voters?
Yeah. So number one thing I'll say is this is an open seat. The incumbent is not running for re-election. And I think that I'm the best candidate in this race because number one, I have a vision for what this position can accomplish, which I think is important because it is a position without, a super obvious and clearly defined role. So it's a little bit of what you make of it. And I have a vision for making this basically our elected lobbyists before the U.S. Senate advocating for our rights. And I think that's really important is number one, having a vision for what you would do. Number two, what I have not seen so far in the statehood movement is a forward-thinking strategy to make how are we actually going to make statehood happen and how are we going to stop Congress from overturning our local laws, messing with our local affairs. I want to bring that to the table. If you go to my website, you can see there's like a whole detailed strategy. How are we going to pass a statehood bill through Congress? I don't want to, get into the weeds too much here. But what I do think we need a detailed strategy for how we're going to make it happen and what each person and each group can contribute to the cause. And I hope to bring that to the table. And finally, I talked about my roles with Fair Vote, with Sierra Club, with March for Our Lives. I have that legislative advocacy experience. I've organized campaigns to advance important bills and regulations forward. So I want to bring that experience to the table as well. And I would say it's important. I have that experience and I have a little bit of a fresh perspective on things. What we've been doing right now hasn't really been working. And so I want to bring some new ideas as well as that advocacy experience and some of those connections with the nationwide democracy community.
Thank you. Thank you for these detailed responses. I think you're giving future and potential voters a lot of good information. And speaking of voting, can you share with our viewers when voting begins, any information on how they actually cast their vote?
Yeah. So I'm running in the Democratic primary, which is June 4th. but that June 4th is the last day to vote, not the first day to vote. Everybody in DC, as long as you're registered to vote as a Democrat, will be getting a ballot in the mail for the Democratic primary. I believe that they go out in late April, so you should be getting your ballot sometime in May. And so check your mailbox for that. And so that will be when you can first vote. There are a lot of ballot drop boxes in DC. There should be one within a few blocks of where you live. You can drop it off there. You can drop it off at an early voting center if you wanted to. We'll also have early voting in DC, which I believe is in late May, where you can go vote in person early. And then, of course, you can always vote on Election Day as well on June 4th.
Awesome. And our viewers, please take advantage of, that information, because those dates are very important to keep in mind as we barrel towards election day. So please tell our viewers how they can learn more about you and how they can support your campaign.
Yeah, so you can find out more about my platform, my positions, see my launch video at jain4dc.com. That's JAINFORDC.com. I'm on pretty much every social media platform. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook. Most platforms, my handle is Ankit Jain DC. That's ANKITJAINDC. On Facebook, I believe I'm at Ankit Jain for Shadow Senator, and you can follow along there. We're always posting what I'm up to and information on those platforms. You can always email us at info@jain4dc.com. We read all the emails, so it's not just going to go into a black box, I promise. We always need help. If this is something you're interested in, this piques your interest, we are signature collecting right now. Need 2,000 signatures to get on the ballot, and we have until March 6th. We have a link to sign up. You'll see it if you go to my social media platforms. We post it pretty often. We're going to put it on our events page too, so you can check out our link to sign up to volunteer as well. And yeah, I mean, again, my website is jain4dc.com. And really excited to be on the show. I know this is really a rite of passage for everybody. So thanks for having me. I hope that we can elect someone who has the vision and the skills and the experience to do what we need out of this, get what we need out of Congress. And would be excited to be the first Indian American elected to DC office above the ANC level.
Viewers, please look in the description below for links. Ankit, thank you for joining us and sharing a little bit about your ideas and plans and hopes for the future in a position that is often unknown and a little confusing. Thanks for adding some information for our viewers about what this position actually is.
Glad to do it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. To those watching, please follow Team Rayceen on social media.
And click around our YouTube channel and check out our other interviews, vlogs, forums, and more. And while you're there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And most of all, viewers, thank you for watching.